Hi, welcome everybody to our WAN-IFRA webinar series. My name is Nicole Frankenhauser and I'm the Advisory Coordinator for WAN-IFRA's Global Advisory, the consulting division for WAN-IFRA based in Frankfurt, Germany. WAN-IFRA is pleased to bring to you today a webinar featuring Grig Davidovitz, CEO of RGB Media Inc. and WAN-IFRA Global Advisory Consultant, and he will be presenting on The Homepage is Not Dead, Every Page is a Homepage. Our webinars are active platforms for audience engagement, so I encourage you to ask questions. You can find at the bottom right of your panel a box that is labeled questions, so please just type in your inquiries, and after Grig concludes his presentation, we will begin our Q&A session. And I'd like to remind everybody to check out our WAN-IFRA webinars page. This lists our upcoming webinars and features recordings of past webinars. And we are excited to announce a webinar on April 13th with Rob Montgomery, founder of Smart Film School, who will be teaching the audience emerging trends, platforms, and techniques for online video. So please sign up today. And now, without further ado, I'd like to formally introduce Grig Davidovitz, who will be presenting to you on how to create a captivating homepage experience for your users and how to recreate it on all web pages. Grig, we are ready to hear from you, so take it away.
Hello, everybody. First of all, thank you for joining this, I just have a small apology to make. I caught a cold, so I'm a bit, my voice might be not as normal, but I hope it will be fine. And of course, I'd love to have your questions at the end of the presentation. So I'm going to start. Just a second. Okay. So I want to start this presentation with something that happened in May 2014. There was a leak of the innovation report of the New York Times, and one of the things that leaked from there was that the homepage of the New York Times is in a big crisis and the traffic is going down very fast. Later, the whole report was leaked, and that's how we get this clear slide this time. That basically shows that in about 2 years, the New York Times homepage lost 50% of its traffic, something that many publishers know today. Parallel to that, more or less, another information was published showing that BuzzFeed has gained a 300% increase in 2 years in referrals that come from Facebook. And that is leading, these are just two examples that are leading to a discussion that we're seeing today very much, that basically says the homepage is dead and the future is social. What I want to do in this webinar is question this, this assumption. And I want to start with presenting a very big gap that we have today. So if you think about an average user, or even yourself, you will see that you're exposed to tens, maybe hundreds of websites every year. This is just an illustration of that. Many people, you come from social networks, from Facebook, from Twitter, by search. You can land in many, many websites. But there's a big gap between that. The fact that an average user is going on purpose to just a few websites. So this is an example of mine. I would say I'll go every day to Facebook, and I probably go every day to Google and to the New York Times, or maybe The Guardian, to an Israeli news site, and to this fifth website that I'm showing you, which is a site that is covering the media in Israel, and I'll come back to that site in a second. I like to see the users that come to sites as two kinds of users. We have the type B users, which I call the one-night stands. These are users that are on social, for instance. They see a link, they come to your content, and their next step is to go back to Facebook. We know that the average bounce rate from Facebook is 90%. But then we have the type A users, which are the marriages. So these are users that want to come and consume a specific site. And I'm coming back to this site that I was mentioning, the media site from Israel. Is a small site. And it covers the media. So the question is, why do I go there every day? The answer is very clear. is an answer of identity. If you have a clear identity, like a website that is covering media in Israel, I want to know what's happening in this field in Israel, so I'm going there every day. If we ask ourselves what reflects and even creates the identity of a media outlet, the answer is the homepage. Think about that. The homepage is basically the face of the product. It is a blend of the subjects that you deal with, the genres that you're covering, the writers that you're having, the graphic language of the publication, all the branding values that you're having, and the functionality that you're offering to the users. It is very easy to see the identity of websites on well-designed homepages. Look, for example, on a homepage of The Sun from Britain, and see the homepage of The Guardian from the same country. Immediately, not only by the content, but also by the look and feel, you can see what is the different identity of each of these outlets. So let's speak a little bit about principles for today's homepage and see how this can be leveraged for your traffic. So the number one principle and the most important thing today is having a clear identity. In the digital age, everybody is on the same shelf. I can get to any newspaper in the world with the same easiness as I am getting to any of them. So without an identity, you have no reason for people to come to you. I want to speak about one of our clients, which is the Times of Israel, and show you what we did in that respect with them. So the Times of Israel is a news site that was created 4 years ago, and the identity that was defined for it was the local news site of the Jewish people. So there are many Jewish people speaking English, most of them in the United States, and indeed 60% of that traffic, of the site's traffic, comes from the United States and Canada. And we define the identity as the local news site of the Jewish people, meaning that every person like that has probably their main news outlet, like the New York Times in New York, or I don't know, the Telegraph or the Guardian in London. But then they have special interests in things that relate to their Jewish identity, like Israel, the Middle East, and the Jewish world. And for that, they come to Times of Israel. It was a very big success. It was launched, as I said, in February 2012, and it's a completely new brand. So there was no print publication or radio or TV station. And in just 4 years, which is more or less now, it became the market leader, overtaking the Jerusalem Post and Haaretz, which were previously the main sites in that market. So the identity was very clear, but also what is important is having an engaging homepage experience. The Times of Israel is built on a platform that we developed in RGB Media, that is a CDMS, basically a content display management system, that enables to easily change the homepage according to articles that is published looks like on the platform. You can see on the left homepage that opens with a magazine, with a feature story and a package. And you can see on the right the homepage opening with a news story. These changes are done very, very quickly by the editors. Also, pictures, a picture can become a video or a map or an infographics. Basically, a picture is a media hole that can be populated by any media. What we have created, we have created, if you want, the InDesign paradigm of the print, but brought it to the web with the speed of the web. So you can see just an example here how in the back end of this CDMS, Content Display Management System, the editor can access each of the different articles separately. So here you have in this case, the main headline, London 2012 Olympics Open, and this represents it. And for instance, I have here a 6-column full width area. I can move that just by drag and drop, and if I move it up, what happens is that the story becomes full width, and it's now no longer just on 2/3 of the screen, by that creating a feeling of drama and showing that something extraordinary is happening. So having an engaging homepage experience that can reflect the exact content that you're publishing is very important for the identity. And so is a third principle, having a cross-platform homepage experience. So as you can see in this example, when I moved the story to a full-width story, of course, on the mobile, I work with the full width from the beginning. So we're using another way, in this case, a background, to show that this specific story is presented now as a dramatic story, not like a normal opening story. So that's before, and that was after. We can change the pictures, you can see here. So I can change a picture into a video. You can add packages and so on. But now we come to maybe the most important principle, which is also part of the headline of this webinar, and that is that every article is also a homepage. You know probably this famous saying that says that if the mountain won't come to Muhammad, then Muhammad must go to the mountain. And I think this is exactly what we're experiencing now in the publishing industry. So we know that many, many users are accessing our websites directly to the article pages coming from social and search. For most websites, that is more than 50% of the user. The conclusion has to be clear. The article page has two separate roles. One is to represent the article that is publishing, and the second is to be a homepage for the publication, because it's the first time that someone sees the site and has an opportunity of seeing the identity of the site as reflected by the homepage. There are many ways of doing that. One example that I can show you from Times of Israel is that on each page there is an area that basically brings the main headlines of Times of Israel in every article, and this information changes according to what happens on the homepage, and also according to the experience decisions of the editor. So if the editor on the homepage puts a main not only of the information that is published on the homepage, but also of the experience that is published on the homepage. So that's an example. But if I come to a website from social and I see the homepage, so I understand the identity, and I like that identity, and let's say that I genuinely say to myself, I want to come back to the website, many times that's not enough. And the problem is that people don't remember to come back to websites. We are so bombarded by so many brands and websites that even websites we like not always remember to come back. One of the best solutions for that is to use the only digital place that we can't afford to overlook, and that is the inbox or the email. So now I want to speak about the fifth principle for the homepage, which is the homepage email. Basically, the homepage email means that we can offer users that come to our websites products that can be received via newsletter. It's important to notice that this is not a newsletter. The newsletter is a way to get the product, but we are speaking about something that is a product. In the case of Times of Israel, we call it the daily edition. It is basically a newspaper that is edited from a daily perspective. It comes out in a specific time, 5 p.m. Israel time, which is 10 a.m. Eastern time in the United States, and it summarizes, or it creates a product that gives the best articles for the day and not for the exact time like the website. So basically, it's a homepage from a daily perspective. And as you can see on the right, also the design of it, it's not a design of links of a newsletter, but it's a design that really recreates the experience of the homepage from a daily perspective inside the inbox of the users. I think this is important for another reason, not only for having this linkage in which, while I subscribe to this product, I get it in my email every day and I'm reminded of the brand, and also I have the opportunity of coming to the site. But also I want to quote something that Arianna Huffington, the founder of the Huffington Post, said a few years ago, and I think it's very true. We have to know today also how to disconnect, not only how to connect. We are so busy in connecting, but people sometimes have the need to disconnect. This kind of daily packages, daily newspapers, if you want, that are delivered to the inbox are a way of enabling people to safely disconnect, knowing that the most important stories will wait for them in the time freezer, which is the inbox. And of course, this email has to be promoted aggressively in the site. So every 30 days, a user gets prompted with this presentation that you can see in front of your eyes, saying Times of Israel in your own inbox, get the daily edition free by email for selected top stories from our 24/7 coverage. In this way, Times of Israel has gained in the 4 years of its existence, without any marketing budgets, but organically only, more than 150,000 email subscribers. And today, the traffic from the email is about 10% of the traffic of the site. So you can see here how the newsletter subscribers are gained. And I think it's important to remember that, and this is a great traffic, and of course in terms of how many pages per visit and so on, it's a great, there are great statistics. But also we have to remember that it's not only about the specific traffic from the newsletter, but it's also about brand recognition. When you get a brand in your inbox every day and you see again and again the Times of Israel, the chances of remembering to go independently to that site increase significantly. So I think that what we can see in this presentation is a big change that we're seeing in design today. Design, unlike in the past, becomes abstract. So take the homepage, for instance. The homepage is an abstract notion present wherever needed. You have the homepage, you have the homepage on the article, you have the homepage on the mobile, and you have the daily homepage. In our methodology of RGB media, many times the homepage on the article and the mobile homepage are the same because of the fact that the mobile is narrow, so you can just put it on the side of the article page. But again, that's not the only solutions. There are other solutions of making every page a homepage. But that shows you that the homepage is not only about homepage, it's about understanding what the homepage is about and giving the users the experience of the homepage whenever and wherever it is needed. Let's speak a little bit about the results. This is a diagram of all page views per month from the beginning of the site until last month, February 2016. Today they have more than 20 million page views a month. And this is a representation of the homepage views per month from the beginning of the site until February 2016. You can see that, unlike in the case of the New York Times, we see that these things are connected. As the number of page views grows and the number of people who are exposed to the site grows, so is the number that is exposed to the homepage, because more and more people are becoming loyal users of the site. So all that, as I said before, was done with absolutely no marketing budget. How can that be? So basically, two things. One is maximizing the content potential to fly on social and search. There is a lot of discussion about the bad things that Facebook has created for the publishing industry, but there is something just great. The content itself can be a marketing agent. So if you have a good content, it just flies and exposes your site to more and more users. Second, leveraging the potential of the visit, turning the one-night stands into loyal users. Actually, you can also say that it's kind of a temptation engagement marriage. So you have to tempt people from social to engage and come into your site, and then you present your identity. And while presenting the identity, those people who are relevant to this identity might want to come back, and then you're giving the marriage proposal, which is the product that can be seen in the email. Of course, a newsletter is just an example. Downloading an app that has push notifications is also an example for that. It's always about the principle and not the specific tool that is used. I call this whole kind of thinking that thinks about the users that come directly to the end of the product inverted journalism, because I think it's something that is not intuitive to many editors. We are used to create journalistic products from the head down. So we have the homepage, we have the sections, we have the articles. The fact is that most of the users are accessing our product from bottom to top, directly in the article pages. It is like someone would take a print newspaper, close their eyes, just move some pages, and then open and see a specific article. This has not happened in the past, and it's happening a lot today. And dealing with that is all the concept of inverted journalism, people coming to the product from the end of the product, and we wanted to leverage this traffic as much as possible. So as I said, in the social media age, the content is the best marketing agent, and that is an opportunity and a threat to the old media organizations. I think it is very important for all media organizations to recognize that and work with that, because it is very easy compared to the past to create new outlets today that can quickly become market leaders, like the example of the Times of Israel entering a space that was dominated by print newspapers with digital presence, like Haaretz and Jerusalem Post, as I said before. But this is great news to journalism, and basically that was my thought. I want to add to that just 2 more minutes to speak about a little bit about instant articles. So, and this can also be a base for a discussion. So everybody's speaking now about instant articles, which is the new way of entering content on Facebook, on mobile, basically giving Facebook the content on their pages. Facebook is presented that as something that has many advantages. The main one is that it opens very fast when people want to access that on their phones. And I think that, well, that approaching that, we have to remember 2 things that I think are clear from my presentation. One, of course, and that goes without saying, is that there is a need for ads and revenue, and that is approached today. But the second is that you cannot just give your content to Facebook even if you make money by ads. But you have to remember that the most important users are the users that are the direct users of the site that want to come directly to you. If you forget these users, what happens is that you become kind of a wire service for Facebook that only produces content while the customers come to Facebook to consume that. That is why it is crucial on these pages to promote the brand by promoting newsletters or your app or any other way that creates a direct link between your product and the users. And we are seeing that, of course, today. Ads you can see on the left, but also this is an example from the New York Times instant articles on the right. You can see that on their pages they are promoting the morning briefing in the bottom of the screen that appears on your right, which basically you can write your email and get that. And by that they are using the exposure of Facebook for that. Maybe one more thing. Why use that at all? Well, because Facebook will promote that, and you know, Facebook is not like Google. I would say they have a way of promoting their interests in a more aggressive way. So I'm confident that what will happen is that in instant articles will be promoted within the Facebook environment more than just links. But we have to remember a lesson that was learned a few years ago around Facebook apps. In 2010, I think it was, Facebook came with this idea of having Facebook apps also for publishers. This is an example of the Guardian Facebook app. Everybody was very, very happy, and the Guardian, for instance, was reporting an increase of 25% to their page views because the Facebook algorithm was promoting the stories from the Guardian Facebook app aggressively there. And that went on for a few months until someone decided to change the button and not to promote that so much. So you have to remember that anything you do with Facebook, you're in the hands of Facebook, and they might promote your content now and change that in the future. That is why a lot of caution should be exercised in joining that platform. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Grig, for an energizing presentation. Now I will just address the audience. At this point, we will take your questions. So again, please find on the panel the questions bar and just type in your questions and we'll get those straight to Grig. So we'll start now. We had a question from the audience. She says, I wonder about the option for a pop-up window for subscribing to the newsletter. As a reader, I feel pretty annoyed when I get that kind of pop-up, and I never subscribe. But you mentioned that it was pretty useful for you. Don't you find this pop-up invasive to readers?
Yeah, that's a very, it's a very good question. So I think indeed the downside of pop-up is that it is very invasive, but I think that the problem is also for what the pop-up is used. So I think that what we have done for the Times of Israel is that the pop-up, as I said, appears only once every 30 days. And there is absolutely no other commercial pop-up. So this is the only pop-up that they are seeing. That's one. And the second is that, as you can, I hope you can still see my screen. As you can see on my screen, this pop-up is a service, and that's very important. It's like a product that you can get for free in your inbox, and it's a valuable product. You want it, you can subscribe. You don't want it, you close it, and you will not see it for 30 days more. So I would test that. I think for most users, I mean, for us, for different clients, not only Times of Israel, it works. But of course, it's not precise science. There are other ways of doing that. For instance, you can have things that come as a pop-up from the bottom part of the screen, and we do that, for instance, for the mobile, because pop-ups don't work so well on mobile, and the traffic from mobile is half of the traffic today of websites, so it's also very important. So I think you can definitely test different things, but the idea is to brand this as a service that is given for free, so people get less annoyed, I think, by the pop-up.
Okay. And then, Grig, just because so many of our WAN-IFRA members are local regional papers, with so much competition in a digital age, how can regional news sites really stand out against the huge global newspapers as well as the niche publications? How do regional newspapers stand out with their websites?
I think it's a very interesting phenomenon in terms of the locals, and I can also show you something that we are doing today with the locals, also for Times of Israel. It's just a very good example because it's in English, and I think people can see that. But first, I want to say something about identity. As you remember, identity is the most important thing on the web today, because you can get to anyone very, very fast. And the locals have a huge advantage in terms of identity. Think about that. The bigger the area that you're covering is, the more competition you're having. As you take yourself and you're covering a specific location or a specific area, the competition is not so big. So my first advice for that would be to be very, very focused on your identity of covering the local, and not go in covering also national stories, in which you have a lot of competition and not always you have something significant to do. I also think, and again, it's not one solution, but I just want to say as a way of thinking, that a rearrangement of media houses should happen. For the Times of Israel, I'm just going to show you something now live in the site. Basically, what you can see here is that we have opened a local area in which local Jewish newspapers can come and open websites on Times of Israel. And the first one is in New Jersey. We have already signed with 2 others that are going to be launched in a month. And basically what happens when you get here is that they have received a local website within the Times of Israel, and they not only get the platform, but they get a lot of cross-promotion opportunities, meaning that when someone approaches Times of Israel from New Jersey, in this case, on Times of Israel, in the upper part of the pages, both homepage and article pages, they are getting a module that promotes the content from the local partner for that area, which is the Jewish Standard. These kinds of ecosystems, of platform, of cross-promotion, I think should happen more and more. And this is also a direction that I would advise local newspapers to go for.
Okay, and then just because mobile is increasingly popular as a way to access news, just with regards to apps, how do you perceive testing new formats for apps? I don't know if you've checked out the new Quartz app, but you know, they're definitely doing a more like chat app format. And how do you think they're establishing their identity, or how do you think newspapers with apps can establish their identity?
So I think that overall the identity is not connected to the apps, but it's connected to the experience of the outlet. Meaning that you have to think what is your experience and then recreate that experience in every environment, on the desktop, on the mobile, and in the app. Of course, on the app you have technological possibilities that today you do not have on browsers, like push notifications, like using the easily using the map or the location of the user on the device and so on that can and should be utilized. But I think it's very important not to do something that is completely different than your identity, because if you want to do, like, for instance, let's say that you have a newspaper and you're saying, well, my app will be only about the events in my area, and then the events you're seeing on the app and like on the site and on the mobile site you're seeing the normal news, then one might ask, well, if the events are important, why do I have to download the app to see them? Why can't I also see them in the different environments? Even more, the app has, of course, the advantage of being smoother and using the possibilities of the device, but it has the disadvantage of being for direct users only. So no matter what you do, you should always mirror your app to a mobile site so people can share articles from the app and use the social to propagate the app. Otherwise, you are losing the search traffic and the social traffic. So anyway, the app should be part of the identity of the different outlets that you're having for your site. This is my belief.
Okay, we have another question. Grig, in your experience, where do newspaper sites stand today with responsiveness? Is it standard now, especially considering the take-up of smartphones?
The take-up of?
Smartphones.
Okay. So, again, let's speak about the principle and then let's speak technologies. So the principle is that I want to recreate the experience in the different environments. That's true for any experience. If I'm searching on a desktop, I have the search experience. Now I want to search on Google on my mobile. We have to recreate that experience on the mobile. So maybe, or if I have a browser on my desktop, that's one experience. I want to recreate the experience of the browser in the mobile. Same goes for news, for news organizations. Now the question is how to recreate that experience. Responsiveness has actually, let's say, two meanings. From the user perspective, it means that the site knows to fit the experience to the size of the screen. So as you can see on the first major site that did responsive, the Boston Globe, when you take the browser or any other responsive site, you take the browser, you make it narrow and narrow, it will always reshape to create the experience within the boundaries of the browser, and that is correct also for the mobile. As a principle, I think it's wonderful, and I think that's where we should go. There's a technological problem, because what happens if you only use responsive design is that basically all the information is downloaded into the device, and then the browser asks, okay, how much space do I have, and displays the information according to the space. As we know from the beginning that on the mobile there's not a lot of space, what will happen is that a lot of information that was downloaded, like sizes of pictures and so on, will not be utilized in the display of the mobile, but will be downloaded. So it creates a lot of unnecessary download of information. As opposed to responsive, we have the adaptive method that basically first asks who is the client, and according to the client, if it's mobile, downloads the respective version that is needed for that. So to conclude, I think that what's needed today is a combination between responsive and adaptive, meaning that sites should be responsive, and they should show you whatever is relevant according to your screen. But also for mobile, specifically for mobile, they should also be adaptive, meaning that doesn't make any sense to download all these huge pictures just to display them in the narrow presentation of the mobile. Such a responsive/adaptive strategy would be the best strategy for today, in my opinion.
Okay, thanks, Grig. And just talking about, we talked about those, casual users turning into loyal users, and there's always so many disruptions, especially with social media today. So, any recommendations you have on how to convert those users? We could just hear some of your recommendations again on how to compel those readers that are one-off readers to becoming loyal users.
Okay, let's go into. I can go deeper into that. I touched it in my presentation, but I can go into the head of a user that is on Facebook. So they see a content and they decided they want to consume the content. For most of them, it's not always true, but for most of them in this stage, the identity of the site is not that important. They want to consume the content. But for us, it's an opportunity. It's like newspapers in the past learned how to use the opportunity of people just passing by the street near the kiosk that presents the newspapers. And that is how the front pages of today's newspapers have evolved. Why? Because it's a great spot to meet new readers. So I have a great front page, someone passes by on the street, sees my front page, and that's the first engagement that they have with the newspaper. Maybe they buy this specific issue, and maybe it's a first step on the way of becoming a subscriber to that newspaper. The street today in the digital world, I mean, there are many streets, but definitely one of the main streets we're having in the digital world today is Facebook. People are walking, quote unquote, on Facebook and are falling into different content brands. And exactly like the kiosk on the street, this is an opportunity not only to give the content, but to present your identity and to start a process of a first step of having people as loyal users. How do you present your identity? The homepage is the best answer for that, assuming that the homepage is built in the right way. Because your homepage, at least the upper part of the homepage, is what used to be the front page of a newspaper. It's the digest of what your publication is all about. So now I'm on the street of Facebook, I click, I see the content, I see your homepage, I see the identity, and I say, wow, I really like that. I would like to read more about this thing. I would like to come back here. And that's an important step already, but as I said before, many people don't remember to come back. So it's important to offer to people links that can make sure that we're creating this marriage, this linkage to them. What can these links be? Well, I talked about newsletters that are a product that you can get in your inbox. You can like my Facebook page, but that's not a very good link because, you know, that doesn't necessarily mean that you'll get a lot of information on your inbox because Facebook wants you to pay for that and so on. We know all these problems. You can follow me on Twitter. You can download my app that can come with different pushes that remind you of the app, of my brand, and bring you back. So any other link that you can think of that can say, hey, let's have a connection. Come back. And I think that's the best way of moving from step from walking on the street of Facebook to becoming a customer of your publication, which is the most valuable user.
Excellent. Well, if there's any more audience questions, now is your time to submit them while we are still online and within our webinar time. So feel free to submit any questions. And I guess, you know, let's just go back to talking about how you were saying about the Times of Israel. You said that 10% of traffic to their news site now comes from their email newsletters, correct?
Yes.
How long did that take them to build that loyalty with their subscribers?
Traffic also grows, so 10% it means more and more. But I think that's a great example. I believe in aggregation very much. That's a subject of itself. And Times of Israel was lucky enough to have, in the beginning of its existence, quite a lot of, until this very day, quite a lot of links on Drudge Report. I don't know how many of the listeners of this webinar are accustomed with. The Drudge Report is an aggregator. Basically, it's just a homepage with lots of links to different publications. It's a very old site in the United States. It has a lot of traffic, and I can tell you from experience that you have a link on Drudge Report as their main headline that brings 30,000 concurrent users. So it's a huge amount of traffic. And Times of Israel had a lot of links on Drudge Report, and also sometimes the main headline of Drudge Report was pointing to Times of Israel. So that was a great opportunity because think about that. People from the United States are coming to Times of Israel to read something about, I don't know, let's say about the U.S.-Israel relations. Now, for many of them, Times of Israel is not relevant because they do not have special interest in Israel and the Middle East and the Jewish world. So many of them come to the article and then go back and never come back. But part of them say, wait, I don't know about this publication. This is a new publication. I want to become a customer of that publication. And then the process that I said before starts. So I would say that in average, Times of Israel has gained about 4,000 email subscribers every month. Of course, if you have things happening in Israel and there's more news interest in Israel, the traffic goes up, and then the number of subscribers, as it is a percentage of the overall visitors of the site, also goes up. So I would say that it was 10% throughout the time, but remember, these are the best 10% because these are users that come on purpose to the Times of Israel and consume more than 4 pages per visit, and they come every few days at least. And we have opening rates of almost of more than 40% and click-through rates of more than 15% of the newsletter. So these are very good numbers, and this traffic is the best traffic in terms of the value of the user, also from a commercial point of view.
Great. And one more question. Gawker just reported that its site traffic has increased by 15% unique views since it started 10 months ago on Facebook Instant Articles. Do you anticipate similar announcements like this in the coming weeks or months? Because if Gawker Media has witnessed such tremendous success with it, do you think other news orgs will want to jump on the bandwagon with them?
Yeah, so that's exactly the thing. You know, what matters on Facebook most is their algorithm. So if I share something, the question, I mean, not many people will come to your Facebook page to consume the things that you are sharing on your Facebook page. So that's clear to everybody today. So the question is, what happens when you share something, and what happens when users that come to your page share something, and users that are exposed to the things that are shared share. Now the control belongs to Facebook. They can decide how much they are propagating your content. Now we see something very, very clear with a Facebook video. I have information from an Israeli startup that works a lot with video, that in average, a video that is on Facebook video gets 3 times more views than a video that is on another player like YouTube. Why is that? Well, because Facebook have their economic interest, their financial interest, and they have decided that they want to promote their player. So if you put the video on their player, well, it will be seen better than if you put it on a different player. I believe that the same strategy will be utilized by Facebook now with instant articles. And you will see that if you do an experiment of having the same article as your article and as an instant article, you will see that the instant article will do much better, simply because that is the way that the algorithm of Facebook will be built. Again, I don't know that. This is my estimate of what is going to happen. So this is an opportunity, because it's an opportunity for your content to be shown more. I'll give you another example from Times of Israel. In the last month, we are seeing a decline, a small but still a very visible decline in Facebook traffic. In my opinion, this is due to the fact that users from the United States get more exposure to instant articles, like from the New York Times and the other players that already have access to that. And this exposure, of course, comes at the expense of the exposure of the other articles of Times of Israel. So at this point, my recommendation is definitely to join the instant articles, as long as we remember the 3 things that I mentioned before. One, that everybody remembers, you have to have ads and make money on that. And the next 2 things that not everybody remembers, in my opinion, is that it is crucial to have links to your products that can create a direct link to the users. So, you know, like having a newsletter or an app link, showing your identity by having not just other links, by having your homepage identity. That's the second thing. And the third and last to remember, that everything that goes to the algorithm of Facebook, it's one way today, and it can be a different way tomorrow. So it definitely might be that today homepage wants to make publishers come into their environment, so they are very much promoting the instant articles. And then in the future, as it has happened in the past with the Facebook apps, they will change that, and you will get less exposure. Remember what they did with their pages, which is quite amazing. Remember, they were asking publishers to pay money to get people to like the pages by promoting their pages. And publishers did that. I have a client that has more than 1.5 million people that like their pages.
Wow.
And when Facebook came to the conclusion that, well, people will not pay anymore. I mean, you know, how many likes you need? I mean, you don't need 4 billion likes. Then suddenly you discover that these likes are worth nothing, because Facebook now expects you to pay in order to have real exposure to the content that is published in your brand page. So things change very much according to the commercial instincts of Facebook. So remember to be very cautious and never give yourself away totally to this company.
Okay, well, if there are no further questions from the audience, I think we can just wrap up our session now. And yeah, we have one more comment. Sure. The most critical thing is to drive users back to your site for login, for commerce, for targeted solutions, ads, content, etc., to get the data. What do you perceive on that note?
Well, yeah, of course. First of all, I agree. The question is, okay, you have loyal users. What do you do with them? So one, the very fact that they are loyal is important, but you can do much more with them. So you can analyze what they are doing and think about commercial solutions that are directly for them. You can offer them to sign up for your website. Of course, you have to and then use that for different things. You can have a metered paywall. We didn't speak about paywalls, but the metered paywall has won, in my opinion, between the different paywalls, exactly because it enables two kinds of traffic. So you have the one-night stand traffic that can come to your site and see the articles, and then you monetize that by ads. And then people who want to marry you, well, they have to pay because they come again and again. So that's another thing that you can do. Overall, I think that a lot of thought has to be put into by media sites on how to become a platform. I will give you two examples. One from a new site that we're launching, which is the Jewish Boston. Is basically a timeout for Jewish things in Boston. There's a very big Jewish community in Boston, and all the Jewish organizations there can come and open websites on that platform and publish events and publish content, and then there's a cross-promotion of the events of the content and the competition between the events of the content. So it's like a creation of a meeting point for the whole community. That's an example of a platform. And another example of a platform is the blogging platform of Times of Israel. Times of Israel has now more than 5,000 bloggers that blog on Times of Israel. And they have published in the last year more than 15,000 posts. And we did that by creating a competition between posts and a competition between bloggers. And that's also very, very important in having people signing up, opening blogs, and by that creating content and becoming also marketing agents by sharing their posts. And when they share their posts, every page is a homepage and so on. So how we create ecosystems that are win-win for everybody that is involved is a very, very important question today, and is very relevant for these loyal users once you get them.
Okay, well, I think we'll end on that note. I just want to thank the audience for your questions and your comments, and give a special shout out to Grig Davidovitz for presenting today on The Homepage is Not Dead, Every Page is a Homepage. We are thrilled with your presentation. Thank you so much. And what I will do now is I will send the recording to all of the attendees and registrants, along with the takeaways email detailing the highlights from our webinar with Grig. So thank you again, Grig, and we'll see you next time on our WAN-IFRA webinar series.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
You too, Grig. Bye, audience.
Bye-bye. Bye.